everybody, and welcome to my Leopard Gecko Vivarium presentation by yours truly. So let's get right into it. So we started from the bottom. So this vivarium started out with just a normal 10-gallon tank that I got at Petco, and we also got some, I call them little driftwood pieces, also from Petco, and this was me at the beginning, and I was kind of just laying out my pieces, trying to visually see what I wanted this vivarium to become. So after this step, I added foam onto the background, then I put those wood pieces in the foam, so then it turned out in the end to be something like this. So once I put the foam up, I also used some clear caulk, and then I put some eco earth and sand up on it to make it kind of look like a rocky structure. And I wanted to make it look like a rocky structure because these guys are kind of from the desert regions, kind of in the Middle East. So I want it to be as naturalistic as I could get. So just mixing half sand, half eco earth into a little bin, and then I would put a little caulk on there and then kind of sprinkle on the sand and eco earth, and then some of it stuck, and it made it look like a nice sandy rock structure. Alright, so now let's talk about what I actually put inside the enclosure. So we got some succulents in there because I wanted to kind of make it look like a naturalistic kind of desert design, and I just got these succulents at Lowe's. They came in a variety pack for like 20 bucks, so I got 10 to 15 different succulents. Obviously I didn't put all of those in this little 10-gallon tank because that'd be a lot. So I just kind of chose the ones I wanted and kind of placed them strategically around the enclosure. Next, like I said, I got the Zoo Med Aquarium Driftwood. I just got that at Petco, and then I placed that in the foam to kind of make nice climbing structures and basking structures for the geckos. And again, this is just a 10-gallon tank, so this aquarium would be something for a smaller gecko, so like a juvenile gecko, when they're growing up, and then obviously when they're adults, I would upgrade them to a 20-gallon tank instead of a 10-gallon tank. And for my substrate, I just use half eco earth, half sand, Zoo Med reptile sand, and I wanted to give it a variety so it wasn't all just sand or wasn't all just eco earth, so the animal had the option to choose if they wanted to be either on the eco earth or on the sand to provide them with a little bit better animal welfare. Because there are plants in this vivarium, you will have to mist it to make sure the plants are getting enough water. But like geckos, it really only needs to be misted once or twice a week just to make sure that the sand and soil is just a little bit damp. So one of the controversial topics with leopard geckos is, do I need UV light? Because these guys are a nocturnal species, and a lot of people think, oh, because these guys are nocturnal, they really don't need access to UV light. They can get all of their vitamin D3 in their diet. But for me, I personally think they do need UV lighting because any reptile can benefit from having UV light, as we all know from reading all the numerous journal articles that we have read this semester. So I would have a UV lamp and a heat lamp on the right side of the enclosure, and then obviously those will let out their radiations. And then our little gecko friend will have the opportunity to bask on that log. That's why I placed it there, so they have a really good basking spot. So they have to climb up and they can kind of adjust themselves to how much heat or UV they want to get, depending on how high they climb up on that log. And then here's kind of like a side profile view of one of the sides. And I didn't add hide structures in, but I have these little cylinders to represent hide structures I would place into my enclosure, because hide structures are really important for this species because they kind of like to get themselves in between different rock crevices, and also having a moist, damp hide is super important for them for shedding purposes. So making sure I kind of put the hide on this side with the eco earth, so you'll be able to mist down the eco earth really well under that hide and give them that kind of nice humid hide that they would need to help them shed when it's that time of the month. Now moving over to the other side of the enclosure, I would consider this a little hide spot as well. This would be kind of their hotter side of the enclosure hide, so they would be able to get down and kind of wiggle themselves underneath that log, and that could be another hide structure provided for them. So it's always important to have two hide structures, one moist and damp one and then one drier one. So that's why I placed the moist and damp one on the eco earth side, so we'll be able to mist it down, and the other hide is on the warmer side, so they can kind of choose which one they prefer. All right, and I just wanted to give one more great overview look of the enclosure. Like I said, this enclosure is just a 10-gallon tank. So if you're getting a juvenile leopard gecko, something like that, this would be a really great enclosure to start them out in. Or like I was using in my other institution, we use these as presentation tanks. So this was actually an extra vivarium I built at the Memphis Zoo when I was one of their ambassador keepers, and this was actually one of our ambassador tanks. So we would put the leopard geckos in this tank, and we were actually able to take them out and show them to guests, which is super exciting. So I kind of based my enclosure I built off of this first one I built. So you could either use it, like I said, as a presentation tank or a starter tank for a juvenile leopard gecko that you're going to get. But obviously, when they get a little bit larger, transferring them to a larger tank will provide them with a lot more space and provide them with overall better welfare.